Yes, guys, and welcome to the latest edition of ThreeTings. I've been away for a while. Reason being, just the current affairs, man. The current affairs, and being quite straight with you, just like certain people surrounding me, and it coerces you into silence oftentimes, man. Because you want to live a nice, cool, calm life, but at the same time, man, you know what I mean? My teachers at school, which I'm going to speak about over time, they taught me to free speech. We used to have this saying back in the 90s when we used to get told off by elders on the estate where I grew up on, in the Roman Road and British Street, whatever, right? They used to say, someone would say something to an elder and they go, "Oh, what are you talking about? It's a free country." That's what we used to say as kids. That used to be, I didn't know what it meant, but I just know it meant I could say what I want, do what I want. But evidently, the 90s were more civilized, or the 80s was more civilized than what's going on now. Because I can't really say what I want sometimes, man. And I've got to tread with trepidation, got to be careful, so, not careful, just just the way some people circle you sometimes, man, it just makes you not want to speak on certain subjects and just give your opinion, man. What? I'm trying to harm anyone, do you know what I mean, or anything, but, they just make you feel like, complaining about, grooming or something like that, oh, you're right wing, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? You're a bad person or whatever, but, do you know what I mean? Come on, man, this is wrong. Why can't I say nothing? So, that being said, today I'm going to cover just a couple of articles that I've picked up on because I've been doing a lot of reading, a lot more than normal in the last week or so, and I've come across a couple of articles that, if things like this information comes by my ears, I just can't bank it to knowledge. I need to share it and make it go as far and as wide as possible because it's close to my heart. It's what I stand for, and it's just what I stand for, and it's what has to get out there. So I mean, especially from a position of privilege, being in this country where you can use the media, and you're maybe not going to get come at, but the people that are struggling with this type of issue need their issue being put into an international arena, So I'm going to speak on it's not about tribe or anything like this, but the last video they were saying about just trying to be divisive amongst Africans, when this here, I'm not afraid to speak on a subject like this because this is abuse against women, which was a big no-no with me, and also it can't go on, and it needs to have a little bit of light shed on it, basically, because when it comes to taking that, you've got to remember, man, it wasn't the British might have gone and conquered 25% of the world and so on and so forth. It wasn't their women, it was the men, When a terrorist incident happens, more often than not, it's men, Bombs, violence from the beginning of time, it's men that have done that, exacted violence. Yes, there are some wicked females out there which we could talk about, which I'm going to talk about at some stage, but for the most part, it's been men that have gone out and decided to do what they've done, not women. So you shouldn't be singling them out. Anyway, I'm going to read you an extract from an article that really touched me, and so I need to let you guys hear it, okay? Give me a second. Right, so rusted screws, metal spikes and plastic rubbish. The horrific sexual violence used against Tigray's women. So, Tens of thousands of Tigrayan women report brutal wartime abuse by Ethiopian and Eritrean soldiers, such as gang rape and the insertion of objects into their uteruses, but injustice seems a distant prospect. For 2 years, Senat carried her rape inside her. The agony never faded. It attacked her from the inside out. The remnants of the attack stayed in Senat's womb, not a memorial or metaphor, but a set of physical objects. 8 rusted screws, a steel pair of nail clippers, a note written in ballpoint pen and wrapped in plastic. Sons of Eritrea, we are brave. The note reads, we have committed ourselves to this and we will continue doing it. We will make Tigrayan females infertile. The object revealed by X-ray and surgically extracted by doctors more than 2 years later, were forcibly forced inside Senat as she lay unconscious after being gang raped by 6 soldiers. She is one of tens of thousands of Tigrayan women subject to the most extreme forms of sexual violence in attacks designed to destroy their fertility. Medical records and X-rays obtained by The Guardian and reviewed by independent medical specialists show a pattern of cases where women have had foreign bodies forced into their reproductive organs, including nails, screws, plastic rubbish, sand, gravel and letters. Under international law, it is genocide to destroy fertility or prevent births with the intention of wholly or partly destroying an ethnic group. The letters written by their rapists, wrapped in plastic and inserted into the women's uteruses, make their intentions clear. Several mention bitter border disputes with Tigray in the 1990s and promise vengeance. In another note extracted by the hospital from a different woman is written, have you forgotten what you did to us in the 90s? We did not forget. From now on, no Tigrayan will give birth to another Tigrayan. Senat had given birth to twins 7 days before the attack and was breastfeeding when the men arrived. She lived in eastern Tigray in Zalambesa, a town bordering Eritrea. The soldiers arrived at her home on the 25th of November 2020, shortly after the war began. After questioning her about the whereabouts of her husband, the men dragged Senat outside. I tried to resist and I cried and they beat me, she says, weeping. They kicked her in the head with their military boots until she bled out of her ears. Then they all raped me, she says. At some point during the attack, she says a soldier injected something into her leg and she lost consciousness. Right, I think I'll stop there because you obviously get the drift, right? I can go on and read more, but there's just certain parts of it I can't go on. It's too harrowing, yeah? And I'm not happy about what I read there. It really, really shone out from everything I've written. The sad story, I've read in the last week or so. This stood out, and I had to not let it run by my ears, and just had to let it get out there, no matter what, you know. And at the end of the day, it's soldiers from both sides, like Eritrea and Ethiopia. And I'm guessing Tigray is a district that maybe wants its independence, and they've been going backwards and forwards, the men have, you know, but to exact that against women, I'm guessing they can probably say at some stage they've done that to Ethiopian, Eritrean women and whatever and all this sort of stuff, they're soldiers. But just because one does to you doesn't mean you return, you know. So you see, to me, like, if I was the godfather, you know, the political godfather. Yeah, and by the way, man, if I was to ever go anywhere in this world, yeah, this is what I would do if I had any type of political power. Yeah, this is what I would do. You see, like what Donald Trump did to the South African PM, the South African Premier, a few weeks back. That's what would be happening in the UK to anybody coming in from Eritrea or Ethiopia. That would be first subject, and that would be on the news, and you would have to answer in front of us. That's what I would want to do. I would then also, what I would want to do is, people want to migrate, people want to travel, people want to come to the UK. What I would do, this is what I would do, I could be wrong, but I would literally suspend. Forget the word suspend, because that means we'll bring it about. I'll ban all visas for adult men and potentially boys from those two countries, is what I would do. Until the reports on these types of crimes or things of this nature are in line with the Western world. The Western world has a problem with domestic violence. I think there's one, maybe two women that are killed every week in the UK via domestic violence. But forget about those that are killed. There's women suffering all up and down the country, trying to get rid of their partner or whatever, and they can't, can't speak out, so it's not good. So yeah, I would take away your visas of the men from these places until we hear something different. As soon as we hear something different, we'll get it going again. So yeah, and if the country didn't want to play ball, what I would do is I won't even tell them. I would just say, look, if this is what's going to happen over there, what could happen here? And I would ban the visas, and I'd try and make it European wide. And they'd say, why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Well, stop this. But not to the women. Not to the women. The same rules would apply. Because you may need to escape hardship. And we like the women. We like the girls here. More the merrier, So, that's what I would do. I would suspend the visas of all men from those regions until we hear something different. Because to me, it's all about benefiting the country that you're coming to and enhancing it. And if you've got a bad human rights record against defenceless women that have just had a baby a week before and doing these types of atrocities, and you say it's not all of us, it's only a select minority, but I'm pretty sure if you can't come into a country like the UK, I'm pretty sure that a minority will be disciplined of men and made to not do this. It's beyond devilish. There's not a word for it. There's not a word for it I can use. It's absolutely abhorrent. And mark my words, there's no way I can go in this world if I got any political power from the UK position and you're dealing in this. Especially if I'm brokering from a position of strength and power and dominance over one. There's no way you can't. I would never let that ride. But anyway, that's that. Let's move on to the next article that I picked up upon. In theme with this anyway. Right, so it's titled, again from The Guardian, Women in India don't want safe zones, they want to enjoy public spaces as equals. Now again, what it's saying is, in India, a lot of women are saying that they still don't feel like they're treated as equals. Yeah. And I think Indian women come off quite controlling to me in this country. The way they try and act around me. Yeah, sometimes. I've seen it, right? But obviously in their country, they're still trying to get the equality wagon going, And it states here in this article that 50% of women in Indian towns and cities do not leave their homes. 50%, So that translates to potentially in the UK 50%. Anyway, I'm not going to go there with something what I was going to say, but yeah, half the women in certain Indian cities and towns are not allowed to leave their homes, and when they do leave their homes, they get sort of frowned upon and approached from men in sort of chauvinistic ways. Yeah, and basically they just want this to not happen, and they're talking about there's a little bit of violence going on in certain cities and towns that they're not happy with, and it's all against women again, you know. So the latest report for the National Crime Records Bureau shows that out of 45,000 cases of crimes against women during 2022, an increase of 4% over 2021. More than 3/4 of these cases were either domestic abuse, abductions, sexual assaults or rapes. So again, like, you know, the UK, we've got something to fight for here. This is what I say, girls, man, you got to get strong with these guys, man, and put them in order. And you don't want this coming here. But again, I wouldn't go as strong as what I said about the last case, but I just wanted to highlight this and just say what a good country this is, and long may it continue, and may things get better, even though women think it's bad here. But again, that's why the UK, man, certain people coming into the country need to be like educated and schooled on how to treat women, man. It's massive. Like, you've got people coming in, no disrespect, I say it, from Kathmandu to Timbuktu, whatever, and you're not even like just like letting them know like how to like accost people, how to treat people and whatever else, and they may not know no better, even though they're adults, you know. So this is like my kind of thing that I like speaking on, and I just thought, let me make a video like this. But I've been stopping making videos like this because of like some females that don't respect me, man. Do you know what I mean? And the thing is, I'll fight their corner better than their own men. Do you know what I mean? Trust me on that, and I still will. Because it's an eternal thing, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're the givers of life and whatever, so I'm still going to do that in the face of such provocation, you know? Next story I wanted to speak on was like, you know, you should have let me see these things earlier, man. But, you know, I was watching a YouTube video, and it was, these guys here, you're not my brother. When you see me on the road, you're not my brother, you're not my guy. You know, I'm not happy with this, yeah? But I was reading again, like in like Somalia, Tanzania, like, you know, there'll be guys from the Western world, from their background, that will obviously go there on holidays. Yeah. When they go there on holidays, they'll meet a woman, romance her, and marry her. Yeah. And once they've like married her, yeah, she's now off the shelf. She's no longer what you would call like a virgin, and in their culture, that woman is completely now rendered useless and obsolete by other men. You know, she's going to struggle to get a partner. You know, she may even be impregnated with a child that is never going to have its father around. You know, now in our culture, the benefit system, whatever else, is a completely different thing. But these women were like literally broken down from having men promise them the moon and the stars from the West, have their way with them for like literally 2 weeks at a time or whatever, and literally leave them knowing they'll never ever be able to get a husband that respects them again, just because of the part of the world where they're from. And this woman left in East Africa on her own to be abused by man after man after man after man. I see my sisters crying on the internet, you know. So if you're a man and you're involved in that kind of thing there, you're not my brother. Don't come anywhere near me. Don't talk to me. It was absolutely abhorrent. because you knew the repercussions. You know this woman, once you go with her, whatever, marry her, impregnate her, whatever, and leave her and go back to Europe, do you know what I mean? She can never come back and be with another man again or whatever. You know, to do that type of thing, it's wicked, brother. Wicked. You know, because you know the culture. Do you know what I mean? I didn't know this, but you know that's your culture. So I wasn't happy, and it saddened me. You know. However, I would just say, man, you could keep that kind of business to Europe, or in a world where you can flit around with different women, horse around with different women, and it has no repercussion or effect. But these women, you completely ruined their lives from doing that, from carrying out that practice, coming from Europe and doing that. So I don't respect that, brother, and you're not my brother. It's a serious consequence. I saw it on the internet. It's different, you know. So I'm not happy with that, and you're not my brother. Yeah, as simple as that. Right. Anyway, I hope this message reaches you well. Yeah, just to reiterate again, if I was the political godfather, right, I would see to it that until I hear better feedback and information from these women of Tigray or wherever around this region, and not being sodomized like of this to this extent and magnitude, I would literally stop all visas from these countries. Yeah. No matter the story, no matter the sad story. Yeah, no matter the sad story, right? As soon as you know we hear back that these women, this is not happening anymore, or back to normal. But then what I'll probably do is I may even, the visas that were meant for males, that would be an increase for females. You know? That's what I would do. They would take your place. But no men would be coming in, if that's what we can hear, if that's what we're hearing from that part of the world. That's what I would do. And I know like it's probably a minority amongst millions, but for that reason I'll be that strict, because I know you'll sort it. Anyway, I hope this message reaches you well. Take care and deliver this message straight to your heart, because it's from mine. One bless.